Brilliance Audio presents Black Rock Bay by Brianna Labuskes, performed by Sarah Naughton. Detective Mia Hart sank deeper into the warmth of her field jacket as the ferry's engine roared its displeasure with the choppy bay. It had always been a tradition for her to stand at the bow and watch St. Lucy's come into sight, no matter the time of year or how painful the weather. "You're insane!" Detective Izzy Santiago yelled as she came shoulder to shoulder with Mia. Izzy was off balance, as only a kid raised nowhere near a boat could be, and she bumped into Mia with each wave. "Go back inside," Mia urged her partner. "I won't think any less of you, I promise." As Izzy angled her bare and vulnerable face away from the wind, she shivered beneath a thin winter coat that was useless against Black Rock Bay's merciless bite. "We're almost there, right?" Izzy asked, ignoring Mia's suggestion. Mia traced the blade-thin scar on her wrist through layers of gloves and jackets and long johns before turning her eyes back in the direction of St. Lucy's. "Yes." Even as she spoke, the Bell Mansion, which sat as an imposing sentry on the island's northern cliffs, began to take shape, cutting through the thick mist that had settled into Black Rock Bay. Soon, they would be able to see the lighthouse to the west. A briny tang hung heavily in the air, coating Mia's nostrils as she inhaled, and she concentrated on the soft expansion of her lungs instead of the way her skin suddenly felt too tight, stretched across her bones. It had been 15 years since she'd been back to St. Lucy's, yet she could still count the seconds it would take for the smooth, white slope of the lighthouse to emerge from behind the jut of cliffs after the ferry passed the mansion. Izzy whistled, low and impressed, when it came into sight, the water-slick black rocks lending a bleak, ominous look to the scene. "It's like a scary postcard." Mia laughed, amusement cutting off the anxiety that had been coiling in the depths of her belly, winding tighter with each minute they crept closer. Izzy was good for that, easing the tension. They'd been partners for only about 2 months, ever since the woman had transferred up from Dallas under apparently less than ideal circumstances. But Mia liked her. She was a few years younger than Mia's own 31 and about half a foot taller than her. She was loud and sarcastic, often leaning into the self-deprecation that was the cornerstone of her humor. Her spiky pink hair, tattoos, and piercings had proved to be an asset more often than not, letting them blend into places where Mia struggled not to look like a cop. And Mia was endlessly entertained by the born-and-raised Texan discovering the delights of winter in Maine. "I didn't pack right, did I?" Izzy asked, as the channel into port created a particularly vicious wind tunnel. "I'm going to freeze this entire time, and you're just going to sit there and laugh at me." "Go back inside." Again, Izzy didn't listen. "We're meeting the coroner at the ferry landing?" "Yes." Although coroner was a generous term. St. Lucy's was so small that it didn't have basic emergency services like a police department or a dedicated medical examiner. Sammy Bowden, whom Mia still thought of as Stoner Sammy B., the island's doctor/veterinarian/coroner, had been able to write up a basic report on the body the local fishermen had pulled from the bay, but it was rudimentary at best. From what Mia could tell, Sammy hadn't even gotten dental records or fingerprints back yet to make an official ID, and if the Vic had been carrying a driver's license, it had been lost to the sea. They knew who he was only because Sammy had recognized him from the time he'd spent on the island. Robert Twist. The name was one of the few concrete details they had in the case. Twist was a small-time journalist who had, according to Sammy, arrived on St. Lucy's sometime before Christmas, then disappeared a few weeks later. No one on the island probably would have given him a second thought, Had his body not been dragged onto that fishing boat?